So the poet Talopa has this saying, uh, have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing. Yeah. Have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing. Talopa. So obviously the thinking mind is not open to everything, nor is it attached to nothing. So when Talopa is saying have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing, he's obviously not referencing the conceptual mind, because the conceptual mind, the small m mind, let's say, not like in Chan or Chinese Buddhism they call what you are big M mind. And that big M mind is attached to nothing and open to everything all the time. But the small m mind is not open to everything because it's focused on something and it's attaching to that. So, as usual, this is called who is listening, because the method that's worked best for me is sound meditation. Yeah? So, when you hear a sound, the brain is attaching to that sound. Yeah? And because it attaches to the sound, so there's a sense of subjectivity, which would be the conceptual mind, that's attaching to an object. Yeah? So now the brain is not open to everything, it's only focused on one thing. Let's say the sound, yeah? And it's completely attached to that sound. So obviously, this is the movement of the mental system. This is what happens all day long. So it's not open to everything and it's not attached to nothing. The conceptual mind. But the listening from before that, yeah, let's say the open space of what we are, that is attached to nothing and open to everything all the time. So even though the conceptual brain will attach to objects and take itself to be the subject of that object, what's before that, let's say, open listening, is not attached to that movement. So this dualistic relationship happens within the, let's say, arena of not to. So to be open to everything and attached to nothing would obviously mean that Talopa is not identifying with the thinking mind. Because if they were identified as the thinking mind, they would be attached to everything and open to nothing. And that doesn't sound very free, obviously. Yeah. So then Huang Po also said both hands open, or have both hands open as if you have nothing to lose. Now that's beautiful in a way, because if you sit down and you take what is being heard is not what's hearing, or as him and Nisargadatta said, what is being perceived is not what is perceiving, then whatever's being perceived or heard, the hand can open on that. And I feel that's a very, that's a beautiful, it's a beautiful imagery, really. It's almost like all of Buddhism and yoga is just like the hand is tight and it softens grip on everything that you're not, yeah? So everything that's heard, you can open the hand. And then eventually the hand will stay open, yeah? But when there's listening going on, you get these gaps of the brain, of thoughts, let's say, listening to sound. And then when the head comes back online with an idea or a concept, you can see yourself grabbing it. And you can also see the grasping at the body. So whatever is being heard or whatever is being perceived is not what is perceiving. You can perceive the body, obviously. Yeah. So you can't hear the body with the ears, although you can hear the heartbeat and stuff. You get subtle enough. You can't hear the body with the ears, but you can hear it from the open space, which is definitely aware of that body. So in that case, you can open the hand on the body. And then the open listening, this is the beauty of all of this to me. If you can open your hand on something, you mustn't be that thing. Yeah? Or that perceived thing. So if you can open your hand and release your grip on the body and do the same thing with the thought process and the I thought and the sense of me-ness, if you can open your hand on that, that must mean that that's what you are is before that somewhere. Yeah? And now this is the mistake or the misunderstanding of a lot of people, I feel, is they feel that what they open their hand on is going to stop. Like the body and the brain are going to stop indefinitely. But the thing is, you were never the doer of the body and the brain in the first place. You've always been the open listening before the brain and the body take off. Yeah? So what you are is always attached to nothing and open to everything. It's always attached to nothing and open to everything. It's the mental system which attaches to things and then doesn't become open to things. Yeah? From what you are, there's infinite options and infinite possibilities. But if you notice from the mental system, there's like two. Yeah? There's like two things that can happen from the mental system. But from the openness of what you are, anything can happen. Infinite possibilities, because you're open to everything and you're not attached to anything, including your own thought system as a J. That's the real relief. The relief is that you can hear yourself. You can hear what you're taking yourself to be. Like all day, there's a hearing of J all day long. Yeah, all the ideas and the schemes and things. And then there's the tendency to close the hand on that, with the idea, and it only being an idea, that those mental J-ing is me. Yeah. So if that idea is corrected, the closing of the hand doesn't happen. You can keep both hands open. But the J-ing will continue. Just the same way the clouds will continue to move through the sky. They do not affect the sky, but they continue to move through the sky. Now the sky is open to other options. Not just clouds. Maybe birds and airplanes and other stuff can go through the sky, yeah? Because it's open to everything, and it's not grabbing onto the clouds. It's not grabbing onto the clouds, yeah? So there's a difference between listening, open listening, and listening to something. If you listen to something, you're obeying that thing, and you've now closed the hand. So if you're listening to the mental system, based on the idea that it's your mental system, you close the hand and you go with that mental system. And it's really the same with the body. Because the body's going to change a lot. So if you close your hand on it, you're tied to its ever-changingness. So this is what Hung Po says. It's much easier to just keep both hands open, really. And you can really sit with that. You can sit with whatever you can hear, you keep both hands open. You're aware of your eyeballs, and you can see your eyes grabbing onto objects. So if you can hear your eyes, to open your hand would be to let go on going forward with the objects, essentially. It's the same with the ears. You can hear, you can see your ears grab onto sounds. Yeah. The ears don't do it, the brain does it, but the sense is that the ears grab onto sounds. You can see that happening. So when that tension happens in the mental and maybe in the actual canal of the ear, which the ears can bind, of course, to open both hands would just be to not touch that in a way, to keep it open. If you keep doing that and then do that also with the mental system, with the thought me, and then you can inquire who's listening, the answer will always be me. You open your hand on that, yeah, from before it. And then, like Ramana says, what remains was what remains. You know? And then, seemingly, all of a sudden you're open to everything. and attached to nothing. But you can hear the mental system attached to things, especially itself. The mental system is addicted to its own idea. So thoughts are going on, sensations, the senses are happening, and the brain is going off, and the brain then fires up that me, the my thought, yeah? And then because of that, it's completely obsessed with itself. That would be called self-centeredness, yeah, which is the issue in 12-step recovery, self-centeredness. Self-centeredness. And then in many ways, spiritual practice can, that self-centeredness can take a hold of spiritual practice big time. So, to be open to everything and attached to nothing would be to not be identified with the body and the mind, because the hand has been open on the grasping onto those as what you are. And then there seems to be this like very open, endless spaciousness, which is forever listening to this little thing when both hands are open. So it's like in Chan Buddhism, they would talk about not grabbing at form. Keeping both hands open on the senses would have you not grabbing at the world. Keeping both hands open on the body would have you not grabbing at the body. Keeping both hands open on the mental system would not have you grabbing at the mental. And then when your head suggests that you're super bound up and that you have to get free and you have to work very hard, you can see that you're the open listening which is before it, which would totally negate that movement of the mental system. It would totally negate that movement of the mental system. And I love the listening, because listening really is a negation, and it's not really giving you something to do. When I say something to do, to me it's not like a subject-object type of method. Yeah? It's like sitting down, listening. You do listen to a sound for a time, yeah? And then you just start opening your hand on everything that you hear. And then as soon as your head makes a move, you open your hand on it. So it doesn't get a breath. You know what I'm saying? And then in a way, it's almost like the practice or the method becomes objectless. Objectless. And inquiry's the same. You go to who listening, it gives the brain no room to move. Because as soon as the brain says me, you can hear it from before it. Yeah, so the inquiry itself eventually falls away, because you just see that what's doing it also is not what you are, because you can hear the whole thing, yeah? But until then, you stay on it. You stay on it. So those two statements go nicely together. Talopa said, be open to everything and attached to nothing. Well, what can't be open to everything? You and me, obviously, as people. We're not open to everything because the brain has a bunch of beliefs and opinions, and that closes off a bunch of doors. Yeah? And we can't be attached to nothing. You can try to be attached to nothing, and you can walk around and tell people you're unattached and all those things, but saying that you're unattached would be an attachment to the idea of being unattached. So obviously that does not work. As a mental system, as a body, you can only be attached to things. You can't get out of it as a body. It doesn't work. Because the body only operates as subject-object. J here, wall there, subject-object. Yeah. So right away, the mental system is attached to the idea of wall. You can't get away from it. You're not going to meditate or Buddhism or yoga yourself out of that as a body. If you're identified as the body, you are tied to that duality. So you can't be open to everything because the body can only be focused on one thing, bum 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 at a time, let's say. And it's attached to all kinds of things, for sure. The point about it is you can hear it happening. So when the brain attaches, when you attach as a body, what you are, you don't have to grab onto that. You keep both hands open. You keep both hands open. And then you stop chasing around the attachments. It's like Baisao said, I take life as it comes to me and everywhere I am is free. So same thing, I feel, he's obviously not talking about the body. The body does not take life as it comes to it. And it definitely doesn't feel like everywhere it is free. So these poets, those poets know it. Obviously they're not identified with the body. Nisargadatta said when you identify with the body, you fragment yourself. You fragment yourself, meaning you split yourself, what you are, open listening, into subject-object, and now your experience is fragmented. And now you are tied to the mental system which attaches to things and is not open to everything. And there incurs your suffering, because the main thing the mental system is attached to is itself. Self-centeredness, self-centeredness. And self can't get out of itself. In the sense of individuality is never going to get out of the sense of individuality because it can't. It's an impossibility, yet you can hear that. You can hear the sense of individuality think and attempt to get out of itself. You can hear the whole thing. Obviously, from before it. As soon as your brain makes any move, you can hear it. And what is being heard is not what's hearing. So obviously what you are is before what's being heard. And then thankfully, you can stop living under the commands and the demands of the mental system. And it will keep fragmenting your experience or attempting to, but if you keep the hand open on it, your experience is no longer fragmented. Right up to when your head says me and goes you don't buy it, essentially. That's not where you start. And then see what happens. Yeah. The thing is, the open listening of what we are doesn't need practice. It doesn't need anything. It's not doing anything, yeah? It's just open awareness. It's just, that's all the thing is. What needs to be calmed down is the body and the mind. And the best way I feel that's worked for me anyways is listening, sound meditation, and inquiry. Because everything else sticks me to a subject-object type of deal, where I'm watching the breath. But the I who's watching the breath never gets put under investigation in that. The thing about listening is you can hear the head all the time from what you are, from way before it. And then the who is listening sticks you on that me thought. Somewhere in the body down here, it's not even close to up here. This is already when thoughts have formed into other things, but the me thought somewhere down here, and it sticks you on there, but every time your head says me, you can hear it. So if you keep your hand open and you don't go with the me thought, then all the other thoughts they recede pretty quick. The body drops right loose. It's like the the biggest relief, really. It's really, yeah. I mean, when I was drinking, I knew my head was causing me a lot of problems, but the world was also seemingly causing me a lot of problems. Uh, but the listening stuff really highlighted that my mental system was creating all the problems. It was creating all the problems because it's giving meaning to everything. And it will continue to give meaning to everything. All day long, the brain's just giving meaning to everything. Yeah? Because it's like they say in Buddhism, with emptiness, the things have no meaning. They're given meaning from the mental system, but they're inherently meaningless. Yeah? It's just like in yoga, that's Shakti. It's like energy is just interplaying, and then the brain goes me, and now it has a bunch of opinions about other things of energy, and it's giving meaning to all of that. If we're tied to that, it puts us in this very strict that and this thing, yeah. But you can hear the head giving meaning. So if you grab onto it, you're listening to it. You are listening to the mental system give meaning and obeying it. The thing is, in the mental system, it's the only one you hear. So because of that, there's no opposition. So I noticed when I was drinking that it didn't matter how crazy the suggestion was, I was listening to it because I was taking that suggestion to be me, to be my suggestion. So it doesn't matter how off the mental suggestion was, I'm going with it. I'm obeying it, listening to it, and then wondering why I'm drunk again or depressed again or whatever. But it's based on listening to that mental system again. It's getting caught in the self-centered loop of ideas, beliefs, concepts, and then me who's seeing it and listening to those beliefs and concepts based on the me, that I'm taking myself to be the idea of me. Yeah. If I'm taking myself to be that idea, I'm tied to the concepts. Now those concepts can't get out of themselves. So because the idea me is part of the concepts, you can't get out of it as a me. It doesn't matter how hard you try. It's tied to it. Self cannot get out of self. So the investigation just stays on the me. The interest and attention on trying to fix J was totally based on the me. If you lose interest in the listener, then you lose complete interest on what's being heard. So if you lose interest in the idea of me, you don't really care what the brain says that much. If you lose interest on being the thinker of the thoughts, then the thoughts don't affect you because they're just like any sounds moving through space. Yeah. So if you're there as the listener to what's being heard, the thoughts, you're in a subject-object place and you're completely tied to what you're listening to. But if you see that the idea of a listener is also heard, then you don't really care that much about the play of this thing. And then it loses a lot of its breath. It loses a lot of its life. And then the system gets quieter. And when it does suggest crazy stuff, you know that the you who it's referencing, let's say I'm worthless, is not a thing in there because you can hear it. And then you see that the thought me, which is presenting you as an individual, as a permanent, independent thing, is a bit of a false suggestion, or let's say a completely false suggestion. And then the beliefs lose the ground, the perceived ground, which they think they're standing on. And then you go through a day where the head might suggest its old moves, but because it's talking about a you that's not there, it doesn't land. So that idea does not ruin the next week or month or whatever. Yeah. Well, it's based on listening. Are you listening to, or are you keeping the hand open on what you can hear and resting back into the listening itself, which is even before the head says listener, which, by the way, comes after a sound is heard. When a sound is heard, the brain recognizes that sound, and then the idea of listener comes in. I'm listening comes after the sound is heard, because the I thought isn't there. The me thought comes and goes. Yeah. The me thought comes and goes. Like in Chan Buddhism, they use that host and guest idea, where the host of the hotel or the inn never leaves, but the guests come and go. Yeah. So the guests are like sounds, of course, sights, body is a guest, and thoughts, ideas, me being one of those. The me thought comes and goes. It's not there. When the body goes to sleep, the me thought is gone. It disappears, you know. They talk about that in one of the Upanishads, the Chandogya Upanishad, maybe. Anyways, so the ideas, the beliefs, which seem super true to you, based on the you who they seem super true to, are guests, really. They come and go. Now, they come and go a lot, but you can still hear them. You can hear them. And when you open the hand on the ears and open the hand on the body and the brain, you can even see that sounds go right through your head. Yeah, you can watch sounds go through your head, and then you can watch the brain. You can hear the brain identify the sound, and then you can hear the brain go, I'm the thinker of that. And now those thoughts, that mental content also goes right through the body, the same way the sounds do. Which would mean there's obviously some space there that all of this is moving through. Beautiful. Me and others. I'm just going to check the chat. Jivan Mukta are highly charged with survival energy, biology. No, the idea of others is completely based on the idea of me. The idea of the sense of individuality here is what gives others any type of perceptual existence in the first place. Yeah. So, but that the sense of individuality doesn't go anywhere. The sense of individuality still pops up. It's just you don't identify with it anymore. So it's lost its convincing quality as you being that, although this body is still here and that wall is still there, as far as this is concerned. As far as Jay is concerned, Jay is here and the laptop is there. Is that reality? That's another question. But as far as the senses and the brain are concerned, that is reality. Yeah? Now, as far as Advaita Vedanta concerned, that's not reality at all. The open listening which pervades both of these would be giving existence to both of these. But the biology, like you said there, that continues on. Yeah. The Jainist still sees a laptop there. Now the laptop is not so solidly defined if the eyes are let go of, the same way sounds change a lot. It's almost like a brighter sense, but the sense of individuality here gives life to perceived individuals there. That continues on. That duality will continue on. The body, that doesn't. It's not about killing that. Yeah. I heard a lot of that when I was away. This idea of killing the ego and shit. That to me is not only incorrect but extremely misguiding. And it reminds me of like when I was like really didn't want to continue on anymore. It's kind of the same movement, like a psychedelic suicide or something. People are trying to like kill the ego. But the thing is, you're not doing the ego in the first place. So you're not doing the meing, and based on the meing is the othering. Yeah. You're not doing that. You've never done that. So to realize that there is no doer of that doesn't change that events happen, including the meing and the othering. But if that's not grasped onto, if the hands are left open, you essentially sit in the open space of listening, which pervades that duality. And then that duality can only breathe because of the not to-ness that pervades it. That's why it's called not non-duality. Whatever pops up as dualistic is not you, essentially. So the hand is opened on that. So the senses and the brain will still take that as reality. But there's by listening before it, you know that that is not reality. It is a play within the openness of reality. But it is not reality itself. Yeah. It's like open listening survives. When the body dies, the body will die, the brain goes, the openness will not die. It will just continue on, yeah? But if the openness were to die, all of this would die. So obviously there's something essential, as they say in the Dhammapada. There's something essential. Sounds only exist because of the open listening, yeah? They get all of their life from the open listening. But the open listening does not need sounds. That's why when you go to bed at night and your head turns off, what you are is still wide awake, listening. What you are doesn't go to sleep. Yeah. The body, the brain go to sleep. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. So the me and the other may still go on, but it's taken a lot lighter. It's yeah, it's taken a lot lighter. And the head will still sell you its same old products in many ways. It may be a lot quieter. Who knows what happens when you sit back into what you are. Yeah. But in my case, it gets a lot quieter. And huh. That's like recovery to me, really. Addiction recovery to me is just like peace. The thing about the piece of open listening is it doesn't shift, it doesn't change. So when the J or other, let's say J or world are shifting, which they always are, ever changing, of course, you can hear that play from what's never changing. Yeah. Now, obviously, that the locale of me as a body and the locale of you, or let's say wall, because that's what's here, Uh, there's a sense that my location is here and the wall is there. This would be like the play of space. And then, of course, space and time come with the mental system. That's part of the me and the others. Yeah. And that's a big stand for the sense of individuality. Jay yesterday, Jay tomorrow would give Jay here at this age. And at this age, I couldn't possibly do this and this and this and this. Yeah. See, this is all like, you can hear your head making all of these moves. So, obviously, as a body, there's a sense of locale here, a sense of individuality against wall there or Guan Yin there, yeah? So there is that sense, but open listening, it doesn't have a location. It's everywhere-ness, let's say. So the sense of the body here in space and the sense of wall there, that will go on as far as the body is concerned. Not identifying with that, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like the body's operating and moving, but you're not. Yeah. Now, the idea of open space and objects within that open space does still have you in a duality, by the way. You are not space. Yeah. So the listening continues on. But the idea of manifest and unmanifest, that still has you in a duality. That's still Dvaitic. Yeah, or Sankhya. So there can be a realization of emptiness, but as they say in Chan Buddhism, there's still residue of a sense of me there, of attachment, let's say. But you don't have to even worry about that. That's like, that just comes through practice. Like, words can never touch that. With words, we can only point out really what's being heard. So that's what we talk about a lot, so that you can stop grasping onto it. If there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat there. If there's nobody to identify, what is identification? If there's nobody to identify. Well, the head is identifying with itself. The brain is identifying with itself through the thought me. If there's nobody to identify, what is identification? They like, okay. In recovery, they use the bondage of self. Though there is no thing that's bonding to self, because there is no thing called self. Yeah, the bondage of self is the identification as the thought me. Now the I thought is completely, obviously bound to the rest of the contents. So to me, the bondage of self is identifying with the body and the brain. That's what it seems like anyways, today. The identification is that there's a bunch of contents of experience. And then there's a sense of me, which is identifying as that contents of experience. Now that's all taking place, except Advaita is asking, or even the question here would be, who is listening? So the question would be I, or me. But that disappears with the question. If there's nobody to identify, What is identification? I mean, identification's a word, but that's a good question. And to me, it's the I thought is identifying with all the contents of the body and the mind. Now, there is no I there, but the mental continues to identify me. Now, that to me is the bondage of self, or let's say self-centeredness. Self-centeredness. Oh, I see. Identification, but there is not two. Okay, good. So that's the mental system breaking. I see what you're saying now. The mental system, you can't think two thoughts at the same time. So the mental system kind of seems to break itself into its own subject and object. So let's say there's any random thought, and then there's the sense of being the one who sees that thought. So there's a random mental movement, and then there's the idea me who's seeing it. Now that presents as two-ness. Yes? Obviously, that presents as two. Thoughts, and then the sense of me seeing those thoughts. It presents as two, but that's a false presentation of the mental system. So, because it's one mental system which is presenting as two things. So I'm seeing my thoughts, and then another thought will come, and then the next I thought will pop in there. That's presenting as two, but it's actually not two. The mental system is one mental system. So through this sense of two-ness, there's an identification with the constant thing through the thought of being the seer of that thought, but there is no seer. The mental system's wrapping around itself. Yeah? That's why spiritual practice can reify that movement. Because there's the me who's always seeing the thoughts, but that me is part of the thought system. You can hear that whole thing playing out. Yeah? You are already free from that whole thing. So in Advaita Vedanta, by the way, your name on the screen is Jivan Mukta, but there is no Jivan Mukta because there's not one there to get free. You are freedom itself. So you are already the open listening, which is before that presentation of a duality called you. Yeah. But that brings up a good point in self-inquiry many times. Are you two things? Are you a thought system and a seer of that thought system? That doesn't even make sense. Yeah? So that points out a great internal duality in many ways. Now you can hear that whole thing play out, and you can see from listening, once it gets subtle, you can watch that happen. Because you can't think two thoughts at the same time. So you see this constant bounce. Content of experience or something pops, and then the head goes me. And then it flips, and it does it the other way, and then it flips and does it the other way. That's why it's beautiful. It goes, who's listening? I'm listening. Well, then you can go, well, who am I? If you want, but you can hear the I thought. You can hear the I thought the same way you can hear all the other thoughts. Yeah? And you can see that it's putting you in this place of a perceived two-ness, but it's not two. Great. That is the bondage of self, being caught in that two-ness. Yeah? Being caught in that two-ness. Now, being caught in that two-ness seems not so bad, but I come from recovery and quite adverse depression and stuff, and that two-ness can make people do crazy stuff if they're caught into it, because it's not two, it's one system, and it's completely self-obsessed. That is self-centeredness. You're not doing self-centeredness. Self-centeredness is happening. There is no doer of that. It's happening. Yeah. And it's not that bad, actually. It keeps the body alive in this world. Like you were saying before, with this idea of me and others, it keeps that operation happening, but it can get real wild. Internally, the internal duality can really twist things up, yeah. But you can hear the whole thing, not as the me who thinks they're hearing, but from before it, yeah. Can you listen in a way that doesn't search for meaning or a source behind the sound? Ah, Sita from Austria. Can you listen in a way that doesn't search for meaning? Yes. Well, you can hear what's searching for meaning. Searching for meaning is like a whole... the head loves to go off and search for the meaning of the universe, doesn't it? The thing is that the mental wants to know, man. It's addicted to wanting to know. And one of the things about spiritual practice that's a killer is the mental system wants to become spiritual. And it will go to the end of the earth. People will go bankrupt to become spiritual. So, can you listen in a way that doesn't search for meaning? Of course, you can hear your head searching for meaning through the thought system. It's ruminating about meaning. When you sit down and I don't know what's the meaning of all of that mental contents, you can hear it from before it. Yeah? Now the thing about searching for a source behind the sound, the question there is who is searching? Now if what is being heard is not what's hearing, as soon as your head says me, you can hear it. So the me, which is searching for the source, let's say, that me is never going to get there. So J can never get back, let's say, quote on, this is just language, but J never gets free. I can hear J from before, meaning what's trying to get back to source can't get back to it. But you can hear your head trying to get back to source, which would mean probably that you are already source now. So I would stop closing the hand and buying that idea. So you can hear your head search for meaning. That one's pretty obvious because it's just random thought. Now the mental movements which are searching for source, are trying to become free. Those ones are seemingly very noble. That's a very noble search you're on. Or the path is very high. That's the highest path you can be on, let's say, yeah? Well, the you who's on the path is heard. So that path of the mental, of the body walking on a path to get back to source, that's an endless path. Because the body is of a dualistic thing. It can't get back to source. But you are source now, which can hear the body on the path, searching to get free. That's the basis to me of non-duality. That's why I love listening, the listening stuff, because it shuts that operation down. You no longer chase the mental system, which is searching for the meaning of all life and looking for the source. Because as soon as you take the idea from Huang Po, what is being perceived is not what is perceiving. Whatever you can perceive, which is the head searching for meaning and trying to get back to source, you can perceive that. It's not what is perceiving. So you keep the hand, you don't buy it. Or you go right back to the me thought if you need. Well, who's hearing the head search for meaning? As soon as your head says I, then as soon as your head says I, you can hear it. I don't know. There's no move that the head can make, which you are not before. You are always before. You are always before. Yeah. So you can listen, you can hear your head, not you as the me thought, yeah, obviously. You as what's before this whole operation. Let's say what you are, rather than a sense of you. The sense of you is still after what you are. Yeah. So there's a there you can perceive what you are, can perceive the head search for meaning, and it can watch it try to get free. And it can't get free. Yeah. It can't get free. But living under the mental system's idea that it's going to get free if you do enough, that is a prison. That's where spiritual practice gets really wacky. Because it will never stop, because it will never get free. Yeah. Jivan Mukta. Self-centeredness happens on behalf of survival. Is it necessary to drop self-centeredness in order to see through the illusion? You can hear the self-centeredness. You can't drop self-centeredness as a body. J cannot become not self-centered. J is only self-centeredness. Yeah? So, now dropping self-centeredness through service or something, that can stun the self-centered system. So like in recovery or the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, to be of service can deteriorate or pause the self-centeredness, for sure. That can help, but the mental system is still self-centered. You're always thinking about yourself or from the sense of self. That's the only way that mental system can operate. You can't drop it as a body. J cannot drop that self-centered movement. Doing service can deteriorate it, for sure. But it will never kaput completely as a body. Yeah. It gets put down when you start not grabbing at it by negating it as what you are. This is a negation. So whatever's being heard is not grasped. It's not followed, let's say. Yeah. You can hear the brain being self-centered. Now, if it's going off the rails, I would suggest doing something else, like service, as they would say, or whatever you're going to do, yeah? But you can't get past the self-centered duality, like we were talking about before, as a body. You can't do it. So there is no dropping self-centeredness. If you want to drop self-centeredness, that is self-centeredness. There's a you there who wants to drop self-centeredness. That is a self-centered idea in the first place. Yeah? So that's not going to work, obviously. The point is, you are not that system. You are before that. So what is heard, you are not that, obviously, because there's the open space of you before even the thought me. Yeah. What you are is listening before you wake up in the morning. It's just that when the body wakes up, the head comes online, and it gets grabbed onto. Well, this message fixes that, essentially. You're not that head, nor that body which goes to sleep and wakes up. And you can hear it. So who is self-centered? The answer is always me or I. You can hear that from before it. And if that's the case, then it opens up the great question of what am I if I'm not the thought me? Well, it would probably be worth investigating that, because all the other thoughts come after the thought me. So that would be a very That would be a good way to spend the time of the body. And it doesn't take very long. If you have faith in that what is perceived is not what is perceiving, it doesn't take very long to see that every thought, any mental movement is perceived from before it. So if you have faith in the message of Advaita Vedanta or self-inquiry or Chan or whatever, then you see pretty quickly. Yeah. A sacred pause. A sacred pause. That's recovery language right there. A sacred pause. You are the pause. Now what you can hear never pauses. Yeah. So if there's a pause, then what moves after that? It's like you are the pause, you are the still space of listening. So whatever's moving through that space is obviously not what you are. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other questions? Otherwise we'll wrap it up there for today.